When you hear the word hacker, what comes to mind? Probably some shadowy figure in a hoodie, right? Well, today we're going to flip that stereotype completely on its head. We're diving deep into the world of professional security, a world where hacking isn't a crime, it's a career. Let's break down the anatomy of a professional hack.
Just think about that for a second. What if your job, your whole professional life, was about thinking like a criminal, but for one reason, to protect the innocent? It's all about finding the cracks in the armor, not to cause harm, but to seal them up before the real bad guys find them first. That's really the heart of what we're talking about today.
And this is our hero, the ethical hacker. Yeah, you heard that right. These are the good guys who use the very same tools and techniques as the bad guys. Their mission is pretty straightforward, but man is it complex. Beat the criminals to the punch by finding security weaknesses before they can be exploited.
Okay, so right off the bat, it's super important to get this distinction. A vulnerability assessment, that's kind of passive. It's like walking around a building and just making a list of all the unlocked doors you find. But penetration testing, or pen testing as it's called, that's active. That's not just finding the unlocked door. It's actually opening it, walking inside, and seeing what you can get your hands on. That's the world we're jumping into.
So, how does an ethical hacker actually pull off one of these simulated attacks? It's not just random button mashing, believe me. It is a highly structured, super methodical process. You can think of it like a mission, with very clear stages from start to finish.
And here's the roadmap for our story. These 6 phases guide basically every single engagement. It starts with planning, setting the rules, and goes all the way to that final, crucial reporting phase. We're going to walk through the entire anatomy of this process step by step.
All right, once the planning is locked in, the real fun begins. Phase 2 is all about gathering intelligence. And honestly, just like in a classic heist movie, you don't just run in guns blazing. First, you have to meticulously case the joint.
This phase is known as Reconnaissance, or just Recon for short. And the whole point here is to learn everything you possibly can about your target without actually touching their systems. It's all about using publicly available info, what the pros call open source intelligence, or OSINT, to build this incredibly detailed map of the target. And this isn't just guesswork. Not at all. Ethical hackers have this amazing toolkit for this phase. You've got tools like Shodan, which is basically a search engine for every device connected to the internet. Yeah, scary, I know. Then there are others like the Harvester that can scoop up emails, website details, even employee names from public sources. It's all about building that initial intelligence picture.
Okay, so let's move on to phase 3 and see how this all connects. With that map from the recon phase, the hacker now shifts from being a passive observer to an active prober. They start to, gently knock on the digital doors to see which ones might be open.
And one of the main ways they do this is with a port scan. The best way to think of network ports is like the doors and windows on a building. A port scan is just a tool that systematically checks which of those doors are open and listening for a connection. Every single open port is a potential way in.
And this brings us to the moment everyone thinks of when they hear the word hacking. Phase 4. This is where the ethical hacker takes everything they've learned so far and uses it to actually get inside the system. This is the breach.
So the key to the breach is something called an exploit. An exploit is basically a special piece of code that's designed to take advantage of a very specific flaw or vulnerability. A lot of these vulnerabilities are already known and are cataloged in public databases, and there are even frameworks like Metasploit that are like giant libraries full of these digital keys ready to be used.
To make this a little more real, let's look at one of the most classic and still incredibly powerful types of exploits out there, the SQL injection. This attack targets the databases that power, well, pretty much everything online.
Now, this little line of code might look like total gibberish, but its logic is brilliantly simple. This is a classic example of an SQL injection. It's designed to completely trick a database. By basically telling the database, hey, find a user where the password is correct, or where the number 1 equals the number 1, which of course is always true, you can just walk right past the login screen.
So the attacker just pastes this little string into a username or password box on a website. If that site is vulnerable, the database gets confused, its logic breaks, and boom, the attacker's in. It's a perfect example of how a tiny, simple flaw can lead to a complete system takeover.
But listen, getting in is just the start. A real attacker doesn't just stop at the front door. Phase 5, what we call post-exploitation, is all about what happens next. It's about exploring the network, getting deeper control, and proving just how much damage could really be done.
The goal completely shifts at this point. The ethical hacker wants to see just how far they can push it. Can they become an administrator? Can they jump from one computer to another on the internal network? Can they find and actually access the company's crown jewels, its most sensitive data? And they use some very specific tactics to do this. There's privilege escalation, which is all about turning a normal user account into a super powerful admin account. Then you have lateral movement, which is the process of hopping from one compromised machine to another. And finally, exfiltration, which is the act of pulling sensitive data out to prove that it could be stolen by a real attacker. And now we get to the final, and I would argue the most important phase of this whole thing. This is the part that truly separates our ethical hacker from a real criminal. It all comes down to the report. See, this is what makes it ethical. Every single vulnerability they found, every password they cracked, every system they got into, it's all meticulously documented. The ethical hacker then delivers this detailed report that explains exactly how they got in and, more importantly, gives the company concrete steps to fix those weaknesses so a real attacker can't do the same. In the cybersecurity world, we have cool names for these roles. The ethical hackers who are on the offense, simulating the attacks, they're called the red team. And the internal security team that's trying to defend the network, that's the blue team. But things are evolving. It's not just about offense versus defense anymore. The most effective approach these days is something called purple teaming. This is where the red and blue teams actually stop fighting each other and start working together. They share information in real time to train the defenders and make the whole organization stronger. It's a really cool evolution of the whole process. This quote here really sums up the value of an ethical hacker perfectly. It's not just about breaking stuff. It's about having this deep, holistic understanding of security, from finding the flaw to simulating a real-world attack, and then, most importantly, providing the fix.
So, we'll leave you with this thought. We've just walked through the mind of a professional protector, how they think, how they act to secure a system. So now, when you think about your own digital life or your company, what's your weakest link? What's that unlocked door you might be missing?